My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Noonas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Jessie.
And I'm Natalia. And that's it, baby!
That's it.
Because
guess
what?
Us.
Guess what? It's another edition of the hit series. Knee Slapper, the hit list.
We're back.
I joke because this is only the second episode of the hit list. But
I mean, it's technically... It's
been going on for a while.
We have a couple of them, but yeah.
We finally named it, and we thought long and hard about that. We didn't think long and hard about this name. I think it was like a joke. That I was like, how about the hit list? And
yeah.
We were like,
were you even looking for a name? I think you just said something, and I was like, okay, that's it. And
absolutely.
I just put it on the doc that like we had like suggestions.
And then I made a template for the graphics. I was like, this is it now. This is our thing now. So we previously, our last episode that we did this back in February.
Yeah, February.
Was on Connect. And now we're back with another drama that we two were probably the only two who would have enjoyed on the podcast.
Basically, yeah.
So, and that's basically what this segment is. It's for dramas that only we'd enjoy. Because, it is what it is. And
a little bit more
murdery, a little less savory, as it were. So we're here to talk about The Glory.
Yes.
Yeah,
which I'm sure everybody's like actually like really excited for because it was very, very popular.
Yeah, it was incredibly popular. So we're back. We're doing it. This is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So The Glory. Just quick background. It is a show. You can find it on the Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who maybe are newer to the Kdrama world, and you've seen mostly, I don't know, some more of the wholesome types of shows, this show may be a bit of a surprise. Just like Connect, I saw a bit more nudity than I was expecting.
Yeah, there's a little bit more
i.e. there was
sex
some
scenes.
So I was very taken aback, and I was like, okay, all
was
right.
Not expecting that. Okay,
you know what?
Right.
Obviously I'm not bothered by it, but you're always, when you're watching a Korean drama and suddenly there's like a very explicit sex scene, you're just like,
it's surprising because you're not used to it. You're like, oh, this isn't a norm in at least like dramas. Mm-hmm. Now movies.
Yeah,
never has there been a time when movies
Wild West.
haven't been like I mean, Korean movies are like 40 times what The Glory is.
It's nothing. It's nothing. But these are just like our little warnings. Like if you somehow have not heard of The Glory, and this podcast is the first time, it has violence, it has nudity, it has sex, it has
bullying,
very unpleasant situations. It has children in danger,
drugs,
murder. It's got everything.
I'm trying to think. Is there animal death?
No. I had a worry at one point, but I don't.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I was like, oh, but no.
So yeah,
so
that should be good.
In terms of does the dog die? No, don't worry. There is a dog and it doesn't die. The dog is fine. What I do love is I'm looking at the My Drama list and it says content rating 18+ for violence and profanity.
Well, that's also the thing that we have to like warn people, especially if you haven't watched it. Mm-hmm. The way that Netflix released the drama was they split it into 2 parts. Mm-hmm. So there was the first part, which came out beginning of January?
December 30th.
And then the second part, which then came out like
March 10th.
And the problem with that, especially going into it now, is that Netflix doesn't label it as 2 parts now that it's all up. It's just one season. But like when everybody had been like talking about it, and if you like look at online, it is broken down into those parts. So that might be confusing if you're kind of like looking for reviews and stuff. There might be people who are talking about the first part when like you go into Netflix and you're like, I don't know what this, first and second part is. It's literally halved in the middle. So
we're gonna
just know that
we're gonna be talking about both parts. We're going with the whole thing.
We watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I waited till both parts were out. I think you did as well, right, Jessie? Yeah, we waited until both parts were out. And when I tell you it was wholly unnecessary to split this drama into 2 parts, I mean it entirely.
Yeah. But I will say that, like, the halfway point, I would have been mad because I would have wanted to continue, but it wasn't as, like...
jarring.
Yeah, jarring. Like, it was kind of, like, mostly, like, you would see, like, in a break, like a Christmas break on, like, regular TV, where it's, like, kind of, like, we're at a standstill, but it's not, like, full on.
Yeah.
You're, like, in the middle of someone dying or something. You're like, oh, okay, this... I also, like, weighed in on it for a while because I actually had to kind of, like, spoil myself on this one a little bit just because I'm not a fan of bullying drama. No. So I had to spoil myself to see if it was something that I could
possibly watch. Yeah. Which is, like, that's fair. Like, that's a totally reasonable thing. I'm not particular. I don't have, like, any sort of triggers with fiction. Like, I'm very blessed to, very lucky that I don't. This one is a little bit of a hard to watch, and I will be honest. I was having, like, a bit of, like, I was in a little bit of a mental funk. Like, I was, like, having, like, a little sad, and I'm like, well, I gotta watch The Glory because we're gonna. And when I tell you, this did not help whatsoever. And I was sitting there, and my husband was like, you're sighing an awful lot. Like, I'm like, I don't think this, like, extremely violent revenge drama full of terrible people is really, like, helping my malaise with the world right now. But it was an excellent drama.
Well, see, that's, like, should we just go into spoilers now, or should we just, like,
as always with the hit list?
Okay.
We're going to spoil it, okay? So if you haven't watched The Glory, go watch it and come back. If you weren't planning on watching The Glory, you just want to hear us talk about it, welcome. And if you've already seen The Glory, we'll remind you of shit that happened. Yeah. It's just usual.
So for me, I was stupid. And there was just, like, one night, it was, like, a Saturday night, I was just, like, watching something else. I can't even remember what I was watching. And, like, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be recording this episode about The Glory, and I haven't watched it yet. Because I usually like to, like, if we're doing an episode about a show, I like to watch it right before, so I, like, can actually remember it, like, in greater detail than just, like, kind of.
Remember.
And I remember very clearly, because I was, like, watching this other show, and then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, the Monday we have, like, a live stream, and then Tuesday was something, like, so it was, like, all these things happening where I wouldn't have the normal amount of time before we had to record. And I was like, I literally only have, like, Sunday to watch this drama. So I freaked myself out. But also, like, I couldn't stop watching it, so that kind of worked out. But, like, I like, watched it all in one go, and then I realized that I was a week ahead. So
what I remember about I remember this distinctly because you were telling me, you're like, oh yeah, like, have you started yet? And I'm looking like, oh, like, we've got, like, I think this was almost 3 weeks, like, ahead. Like, it was like 2.5 weeks ahead of time. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start it sometime next week. And then after so I was just like, yeah, don't worry, like, I'm not worried, I'm gonna start it sometime next week. And then later on, when you're like, I just realized that The Glory isn't this week, I was, like, thinking back, and when I was just like, yeah, like, so casual, like, yeah, I'm gonna start something next week. I'm like, man, I hope I didn't stress you out by, like, not having watched it yet.
I didn't, like, that didn't even, like, register in my brain. Like, it did not register at all. It didn't help me at all. Like, I just was, like, there's just, like, one moment I was like, no, or it's not The Glory. I think the problem was that, like, we were gonna we were going to talk about Full-Time Wife Escapist, which was, if you listen to that, that's our previous episode, and it was just the 3 of us. Yeah. And so in my head, like, I transferred that as another, like, this was another, episode where not the full team was on. And I was like, it just, I got it all confused. But, like, it worked out. And I was, like, actually the complete opposite. Because for me, the big thing about bullying for me is I hate when there's bullying, especially if it's like as drastic as it is in The Glory, and the bullies get a redemption arc. I cannot, like, that like physically makes me ill. That's actually like the worst part about bullying dramas for me is redemption arcs. I hate them so much because they never actually like need them. They don't deserve them. And so that's why I like kind of spoiled myself a little bit on this one, just to see, because I knew I wasn't going to make it if there wasn't like any sort of outcome for me, which kind of helped when I, sat there and watched it all in one sitting. So it's very cathartic for me. I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah.
No, see, as I said, like, that also does bother me, but I don't get as bothered. I don't really get bothered by anything. Like, people, you guys are just used to my bullshit.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's like my major thing. Anything else, like, you could like sit there and like dismember people, and I'd be like, whatever, like, fine, and then like sleep as well as I'm normally gonna sleep at night. Like that, like a lot of stuff doesn't bother me, but that's just like the one thing I just really hate. Redemption arcs, and they're so prevalent, especially in like Asian dramas too, like that it was like you're almost guaranteed to have a redemption arc. So I was like a little worried going into this. I was like, if
but
it's that level of bullying,
it said nah.
It definitely did that. It was like, don't worry, Jessie. You didn't have to worry.
Don't worry about it. I
should have known. It was on Netflix, so I should have known that it would have been okay.
Like, we're not doing that. Don't worry. Boy, no one got a. There were. If you were worried, like, oh, do the bullies get what's coming to them later in life? Well, I'm here to tell you that they do, friends. That they do. Every single one of them gets something going on.
Yeah.
Just terrible stuff happening to terrible people. So we'll pull a Sky. We'll back it up.
Oh yeah,
we'll tell you what if you're just here, you never plan on watching The Glory because you don't like violent stuff, but you love listening to us because we find us delightful or whatever. Thank you for being here. We'll tell you the plot of the show. So there's a girl. She's in high school, and she's a pretty good student. She has a shitty home life, but she's a good student, and she wants to be an architect. Unfortunately, the gaggle of miscreants, who are the school bullies, have decided that she's their victim du jour.
And of course, they're all rich, so
well, except for one. 2 of them aren't rich, and 3 of them are rich. So there's like the 3 main perpetrators and their 2 minions, which is sort of how it's set up. And so they bully her. And when I say bully her, it's not like calling her names and stuff. Yeah, they're literally like
pieces of paper in her hair or something.
Yeah,
like
that. It's not a spitball situation, okay? Like, we're talking, they are violent, they're sexually assaulting her. They're giving her permanent, like, 3rd-degree burns with curling irons all over her body. They're, it's absolute ridiculousness. Like, it's
the worst of the worst, really.
Yeah, it's like it's not bullying at this point. Like, it's moved
assault
into, like, this is criminal
attempted murder
assault.
Essentially.
Yeah, like, this is absolutely just, this isn't, I even hesitate to call it bullying because this is literally just assault. Like, it's violent criminal assault. And they get away with it for various reasons, mostly because they're rich, and for some reason all the adults who are aware of it just do nothing.
They do that thing where they need to make sure that the school looks good, so they kind of sweep it under the rug, and then also they're getting paid off by some of them, the family members and that sort of thing. But they want to make the school look good, so they're basically like, we're not going to tell anybody about this.
This actually led to my first moment of the show, because she actually goes to the police, and the police are berating her while she's covered in blood and blisters from being brutally burned because she showed up in her school uniform. And I'm sitting here like, okay, listen, ACAB, obviously. But you're telling me there's not a single cop in this whole station who's not looking at this and going, what?
I know.
Wait a second.
But, like, I do think they're trying to, like, make it known that, like, so, like, some of the rich kids that are part of this group are, like, rich kids. Like, not just, like, kind of, like, in comparison to all the other families, they're, like, we actually own this town. So, like, even if you tried to do something, we'd have your jobs. Which is just, like, at a certain point, like, can you be human, like, enough to, like, be like, I'd rather risk my job and, like, help this poor girl who's covered in burns. And she does have some people, like, you do see some people who try as much as they can, most notably the school nurse.
The school nurse,
she knows what's going on, but she can't really do anything even when she's trying to do something, because she's, like, even in the hierarchy of the school, she's, like, just the bottom.
No one will listen to her.
Yeah.
But and I know this is like takes place probably like, you know, in the early 2000s. But even in the early 2000s, I feel like Child Protective Services existed in some form in Korea.
You would hope.
And I feel like, you know, everyone at this school is a required reporter, some might think.
Yes,
but listen, we know how these things work. We're, you know.
We are watching a drama, so.
And you know, you do hear these horrible stories of things like this actually happening. So, so double ACAB, because all the cops are just like,
whatever.
So anyway, she quits school, and then she tells them, like, I hope you all fucking get what's coming to you, and leaves. And then she works in a factory, and then she saves up and does her GED, and then she gets into school, and then while working in this factory and getting her GED, she formulates her plan of revenge.
Yes.
Her very intricate... What I love about shows like this is they present these very intricate revenge plans that requires... It's not just her that has to do things, but other people have to act the way she thinks they're going to act.
Yeah.
And if any of them don't at any point, her plans are screwed over. Like, and so it's like there's this revenge plot, though it's very satisfying to watch because she really gets everyone.
She really does.
Like, when you're thinking about it, you're like, there's too many variables for this to ever work.
You don't need to think that hard on the plot. But, like, what I really do like about the revenge plot is I think when you're watching it, you think that she's going to be personally going after these people.
She doesn't.
And she actually doesn't.
No.
She, like, her plot is to get other people to do her job. Like, so, like, she's not only, like, picking people purposely, like, to help her, like, you know, the doctor kid and then the woman who's being abused and that sort of thing. But, like, she uses them to go against each other because she saw what they did. So she knew that, like, on some level, they were going to be the downfall of each other, and it would be really easy. Yeah. And, like, they do, like, this is the one thing that I think, like, for me personally, that I probably missed out of the show is that I don't play Go, and Go is a very central theme. And so, like, I think if you played Go and you actually, like, played it enough, you would get something out of this show that, like, I can't, as just, like, someone who's, like, kind of understands what the game is, but, like,
it would be a lot more satisfying.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of, like, if you know, like, the rules of Mahjong, that one scene in Crazy Rich Asians actually makes a lot more sense than if you don't know how Mahjong
and
works.
There are a lot of, like, Western shows where, like, chess is a big thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know it on some level, but, like, also, like, if you don't actually play chess to that level, like, you
it would be a little confusing. Yeah, if you don't understand the basic rules.
The writing is kind of dictated by it. But, like, the revenges she gets, like, I loved that. I love the way that she, like, set it up.
Because the way that it's written, it's like all of the revenge that she gets are basically perfectly tailored to the person doing, like, who that it happens to. Like, she needs, like, because each one, it's like, you can't, like, sure, she could just orchestrate the murder of all of these people, and then they'd be dead. But that's not really that satisfying, okay?
No.
She needs to make their lives, she needs them to suffer for the rest of their lives.
Well, here's an example, because it's the first one is my absolute favorite. It was so good. That's when I knew I was going to be, like, hooked in this. So, like, at the very beginning, you see her with this, like, one guy for a while. Like, not at the very beginning. When she's, like, in her adult stage of life, you see her, like go out to eat with this one guy for a while.
With a classmate.
Yeah, and you're like, that's cool. And then you kind of almost think that, like, maybe they're trying to, like, pose him as, like, maybe he's a romantic lead. But then you find out that he has a wife and kid. Yeah. Like, so then you're like, okay, not blah, blah, blah. So previously, you see when she goes to tell the, like, school administrators about, like, what's going on, one of the teachers, like, the headmaster or whatever his title is, he literally assaults her for even trying to, like, bring up
daring to speak out.
Like, she attacks him, and, like, he attacks her and all this stuff. So this is a very big thing. So you're going through, and, like, you can tell she's, like, finally, it's like, now that she's, like, done the little steps that she wanted to for her life, like getting GED and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then she became a teacher.
So she's, like, done all these little things.
Your life's going great. She has this friend.
She decides
a teacher.
That she wants to start her plan of attack. And what's beautiful about it is the first person she goes to is the teacher. And so, like, previously you also start to, like, find out about the guy that she's, like, hanging out with. He's, like, in school to be, I don't remember which, like, position in the
he was becoming
police department.
He was becoming a teacher. Wasn't he?
He was going to become, like, a sergeant or one of the higher levels in the police department, because they talk about it. And it was like, and then you start to see that she's, like, going to try to, like, get people to, like, help her, and you're like, oh, cool.
Right.
She's siding with this guy, so, like, he can, like, maybe she can always, like, be around him, and he can be her cover or something. Like, you know, like, you're like, what is going on? So, but she goes.
The show, it actually doesn't. The show is very good at, like, misdirecting you as a watcher, where you think she's going to do one thing, but then what she does is so much more satisfying and fucked up than you actually can possibly imagine.
So she ends up going to the teacher, and she has a bouquet of, like, I think it was lilies or something, which he's allergic to, and she's like, he opens up the door, and she just has it, and she just has this, like, shit-eating grin on her face.
And she's like, I just want to thank you for all that you did for me when I was your student.
And he's, like, getting, like, huffy. He's also, like, having, like, an attack because of the allergies and stuff. And he's, like, can't breathe, but he's also, like, really angry to see her because he instantly recognizes her and he knows who she is. And he's going on and on and on. And then you see someone pull up in the car, and it's the guy that she's been hanging out with, who happens to be his son. And, like, at the moment that happened, I was like, oh my God.
Like, I see what we're in for.
And it went so much harder than I ever expected, because I was like, at that point, I was like, this is great. She got information on where he lives or something like that.
What I thought was going to happen was that she was going to do something to the son.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, she's going to, like, fuck with the son to fuck with the dad. No.
It's beautiful. So, like, we already, like, she knows that he is trying to get this, like, big, like, position in the police department, and he's coming to see his dad to say that he's, like, passed, like, all the things, right? So, like, he's like really happy because this is this next step in life. And so she lives like, oh, well, your dad did all this stuff and it's going to be released. And she's, like, written up this letter to, like, release it. So everything that he did during school is going to be released. And so what, like, eventually happens is that the son then decides, since you did this, you're going to pay for it, and you're going to do what you need to do to make sure that I can still, like, go on in my career. So you're going to commit suicide. And he makes his dad commit suicide.
But it's not even he makes his dad commit suicide, it's like he lets his dad have an allergic reaction to flowers.
Oh, yeah.
And then just stands
they kept on,
there.
Like, sending.
Yeah, and stands there and watches him die.
Like, he does, like, make him, like, do the note and everything. And you can hear him, he's like, you're gonna make it so that I will be okay with this. Like, he's like, basically, he's like, you're not tarnishing my career.
And you're just sitting there like, this is so utterly fucked up.
What the fuck?
And then the second misdirection you get is she basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Blackmails her way into being the homeroom teacher of the little kindergartner who's the daughter of the head bully.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, she's already
at her old school, right?
No, it's like it's not elementary school. It was high school.
That's right.
But she's already ingratiated herself with this woman's husband at like because he's like a passionate Go player.
Yes.
And so, but he doesn't know who she is, and she's like pretending like she doesn't know who he is either. Like because it's all, and then so she becomes their kid's homeroom teacher, and then this woman shows up and she's like, I'm going to make your daughter's life fucking miserable. And if you try to like, I'll follow you. Like I will make, like as much as I remember you, she's going to remember me. So you initially think like, okay, she's like, gone too far now. Like she's
going after
like,
the little kid.
Like you're like, okay, this kid is like 5. She can't help that her mom is a psycho. Okay, she's such a cute little kid. Has a very good heart. Like this kid is like, very much takes after her
dad
father who raises her dad's, personality, which is very equitable, fair, and, he seems like an okay guy. Maybe not like a good guy, but not a bad guy.
Yeah,
like though you find out later, he's not... Yeah, when you find out later, he's not a good guy, though.
Like, no, he's not. But, like, he's not the normal rich guy. Like,
he's not an asshole. Like,
he's a decent father.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're like, okay, this might be a little too far. Like this kid didn't do it. No, that's just, this is all just part of this psychological mind play.
Like messing with him.
She never does shit to that kid. That kid is safe the whole time. Okay,
there was never like a point. She's like super nice to her. She makes sure that she's safe. Like there's a point when like you find out that like one of the other teachers is taking pictures of all the young girls. She makes sure that like she is safe in the situation.
Yeah, and that he gets what's coming to him as well. Just, it's so fucked up. Like,
it really is.
But the show, like, you never know where it's going. And it's because there's so many moving parts in it that you, like, you're so engrossed. You're like, okay, how is this going to go wrong? Is this going to go right? Like, who's going to do what? How are these people going to react to this situation? Like, what this person's doing, is that going to mess up what she's working on? So it's like, it's very intricate that way. Now, love the show. I need to talk about something that did kind of bother me.
Okay.
The show. Okay.
All right.
And what bothered me, okay, and I don't think this was intentional, but you and I have briefly discussed this before, and then I was like, we should stop talking about it. We should talk about it during the show. So you have the character of her, like, love interest, okay, who's the guy who taught her to play Go.
Yes.
All right. And he's a doctor. And he's a doctor who's from a family of doctors who are like a rich family who own a hospital. And he's like unhinged. Yes. I just need to say this. He's very unhinged and very happy to help her murder. Yeah.
But he's also unhinged because of a situation.
Yeah, okay, no. This is where I'm getting it. This is where I'm getting it.
Okay.
So then, at first, he just seems like a nice guy. And before you learn anything about his background, he's like, I'll fucking murder for you. I'll do anything you tell me to do. And you're like, whoa, buddy, calm down.
To be fair, like, he had been, like, giving her sad puppy dog eyes multiple times in her life, right?
But listen, also, you can sip and not murder, not immediately go, I'll murder for you.
It was after her taking off her clothes so he could see the extent.
What happened to her.
So, like, you kind of got, like, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. It's not just, like, he kind of, like, heard the story and that was it. She actually saw her being,
but then you find out about his backstory, okay? And when I tell you, the writer put all of her writing into this backstory for this guy, that I was like, I want, like, this is, like, okay, yes, what's happening over here, it's so interesting, and I'm, like, really into it. But every time it would center on this guy's horrific backstory, you're like, but this is the story, right? Like, this is the story. Because, like, okay, she's been bullied, and they were very violent to her, and she's getting revenge, okay? His dad got murdered in front of his eyes, in front of a room full of people by a serial killer that he was operating on, just for shits and giggles, and then the serial killer is now in prison, and keeps sending him disgusting letters all the time, and, like, and he's been trying to, like, murder this serial killer.
And he's trying to get rid of him.
And he's trying to, like, just murder this serial killer, but he, like, by getting hired as, like, a doctor at the prison, but the prison's like, calm down, we cannot do that. And then, like, he's been, like, hiding it from his mother, and, like, going to therapy, and nothing is working, and, like, and you're just sitting here like, why did they go so hard on this guy's backstory?
Here's the thing. So, like, my theory, and I really do think this is true, like, is that his story is supposed to be second season, and the setup for his stuff during this season was purposeful so that you could, like, get the second season tied in. But I think it also was to, like, maybe make it, because he's not, like, he's, like, unhinged, but he's not unhinged to, like, everybody. He's, like, he's fine with, like,
focused,
like,
unhinged.
Like, if you're a good person, he's not going to be unhinged to you at all. Like, so I think that's, like, they were kind of, like, tying it to maybe, like, as a justification of his character, why he's doing, because he's, like, maybe, like living through her revenge. Yeah. To kind of, like, get a catharsis from what his, like, issues are, but also clearly for second season.
Yeah, but, like, it was so Netflix. It was so frustrating for me to watch, because, like, his acting was so good, and his story, and his story was so good that you found yourself, like, as you're watching these other machinations, you're like, I wonder what he's up to. Like, and I'm like, no, he's not even the main character. And I'm just like, man, I really want to know more about this guy. So he was played by Lee Do-hyun, who just
he's so good. He's so good in every role that he's done.
Incredible. Like, the cast of this is wild.
Yeah. And so I think that's, like, kind of also the problem, is he's so good at slightly doing stuff. Yeah. Like, so he just, like, there's the one of my favorite scenes is, so one of the things he does to mess with people is, okay, so he ends up where they're, like, whatever city they're living in, he sets up an office there. He does, like, plastic surgery and stuff. Yeah. So the one main bully girl comes in, because obviously they're going to go to the plastic surgery. Like, all the girls are going to do that, right? So she comes in to get some work done with him. And, like, right before he's going to put her under, he's like, one little air bubble and you die.
You die. And then she's like, what? And then he's like, okay, bye. Like,
and then he, like, it says the name of the guy, because we haven't talked about this, but she, like, air quotes, kills one of the other, members of the group. And so she, like, then starts repeating his name over and over to mess with her even more. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so unhinged in just, like, the most monotone way possible, too. And you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? I know that is a misstep, but I think that's also, like, a sign of, like, how, like, Korean entertainment is so new to second seasons and that framework, that's just not a thing that they're
so it's like, so
that's, like, the misstep in the writing is because
it's like they revealed his backstory a little too early, and they gave it a little bit too much time for season one, that I was just like, no, like, this is, like, yes, this is the story, but no, this is the story.
Because,
like,
it's definitely, like,
wild.
You get why he has it, and you get, like, why it's there. It definitely, I wonder if it's also because the actor was so good at it too that like we're also like kind of focusing on that. Like
so good.
Another person might have like made it like seem not as.
And I just want to like emphasize that this isn't one of those like, oh, he's so good looking, so we were focused on. No, like he is good looking, but like he sold his role perfectly.
Every role that I've seen him in has been completely different. And he's
great
so good in each of them. And they're like, completely different. Like Youth of May, he's like this really angsty, love-torn, but also like during the 80s and the, the uprising in Korea, there's that. And then he's like,
in Sweet Home,
brother, like a brother just trying to like save everybody. And he's just like a leader.
Kid, and then in Hotel Del Luna. Oh.
Yeah. And then he's one of the buddies in Still 17.
Yeah, 30 but 17. Yeah. He's
just good. Like
he's incredible. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of another one that I thought was really like, he was Park Sung-hoon's character, where he played like he was having the time of his life, being the worst person you've ever seen in your whole fucking life. He was like, I have been waiting my whole life to play the least likable person you've ever seen. Like I will be honest, Park Sung-hoon plays a lot of bad guys. And I'm not like I'm not 100% sure. Like he must really enjoy it. Because, he was, like, the villain in, like, Psychopath Diary, and he's incredible in that, too. Like, if you want to watch a slightly less serious crime situation, check that out. But, like, so he plays a lot of bad dudes.
Oh, yeah, and he was also in Josie and Exorcist.
Yeah, rip. Gone too soon. Listen, I will never stop being upset about Josie and Exorcist.
I won't.
Okay, either. Like it was the show. I was so excited for that.
I was so excited, and I loved every second.
Those first 2 episodes were some of the best Saegook I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
but no, Cinephobia had to win again. Like. Anyway, moving on. It doesn't matter. We can look past shows in Exorcist. We can move on from the lost dreams of our youth. But when I tell you, like, he's perfected being the least likable person, but in such a way that, like, in this role, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it's not like, wow, this person's a piece of shit and you have no idea why they're like this. Like, he plays every step of the way, all of his motivations and why he's like this. Like,
I do, like, I love garbage. What I love about his character versus Im Ji-yeon's character. They're both, like, psychotic. Like, they're both psychopaths. But they play them in completely different ways, too. So there's, like, this great, like divide between them that, like, doesn't make it so, like, you're so weighed down with so many... Like, everybody in the cast is really terrible, but, like, if they were all at that level, like, it would be way down. Yeah. But even, like, 2 people who are that strong... like, still doing stuff, and it doesn't, like, weigh you down a lot, like, because the way that they play, and the way that they play off of each other is really cool, and, like, they just have, like, they know their characters, like, once in life, and, like, you can see that's why they do the things that they do.
You can see their motivations.
Their parents' involvement, because a lot of the show does kind of, like, center back to show how terrible all the parents were to them, like,
which is how the parents made them who they are.
Yeah,
and what I sort of loved is that his psychosis, like his bad character, his psychopathy, was everyone who interacted with him knew who he was.
Yeah,
and he was not hiding the fact that he was a violent, deranged asshole, but he was rich and had a lot of power. And so no one would do anything because they were scared of him. Whereas Im Ji-yeon's character, who plays, like, the head bully, hides the fact that she's violent and awful because she's in the public eye. She's a forecaster, like
so front-facing
weather girl or whatever they call it. Whatever the actual term is. I don't know what the term is. She's convinced this respectable, nice guy nice in air quotes, respectable
nice, rich guy to marry her. Yeah.
Like, she has, like, standing in society that
she talks a lot about, like, her dress and what to wear, and she has, like, very,
like, she's very social, image
like,
conscious.
Yeah.
So it's like she has, like, a mask of civility and, like, class lack of a better term, that she uses to hide her reality. Whereas he's just like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit. What are you gonna fucking do about it? Yeah. Nothing, because you can't do shit to me.
But she's also just so good in her role too, because she snaps like in a dime. Like, it's just like especially that first scene where she like realizes that what's her face is her daughter's teacher. Like, the darkness in her face immediately changing, just like she's like her expressions are so good in that way that she's able to do that. And I also thought it was like super fascinating and also like really great that her younger actress was able to match her perfectly.
She was.
I think out of all the younger actresses to play them, they like were the same person to me. Like, it was just like so like and it's fascinating, so strange because watching their facial, like, these really like they're very like bizarre, like horror, like crazy faces that they do, that both of them did, and they were able to match each other's perfectly.
And it's interesting because they don't actually look that much alike.
They don't. Like, it's definitely, you don't look at the girl and be like, oh, that's the younger version of that girl.
But she sold it. That she
the mannerisms and everything about it was just like, you knew it was her just purely because of that. Yeah.
Like, just this whole cast is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I do think that, like, I like the script overall, but I do think the cast is what made this script.
Made it so successful,
Yeah. And because I do know that the writer, like, did a lot of stuff, and she actually talks about how she, like, spent a lot of time with this script, like, doing things and, like, wanting to make it perfect, and when it, like, was really kind of, this was, like, one of her, like, focus on, like, her fate. Yeah. So, but, like, the cast really make it, like, because I mean, like, even like the other players who are just like little, like, in the retrospect, but like the one friend who is on like cocaine all the time or whatever drug she's taking, and also had been she grew up as a pastor's kid, so she's like completely like psychotic in the like, I've been in a like the cult of a place, and then also like taking these drugs, and how that like her personality is literally because of those two specific things and not just because that's who she is.
I did get a little bit of a laugh with her character, because up until about, like, I'd say 2/3 in, like, the only drug they ever talk about her doing is like pot, and I'm just sitting here like, okay, reefer madness, like, calm down, like, this, like, you don't have like crazy, like, shaking withdrawals if you don't get your dube, like. But I'm like, you're like,
that's cute.
Okay.
You think
you're like, okay, like, you're trying to, like, play on the fact that pot isn't as readily known in Korean society, but, like, chill out. But no, then later on, you're like, no, she's doing, like,
she's doing hard
drugs and shit. Like, but I was just like laughing, like, come on. Like, I was like, I even said, like, the reefer madness nonsense in this is like sending me. I just want to, like, make a little note about, we often, like, we'll do this, we'll talk about, like, the screenwriter, and then we'll find out, like, oh, like, I wonder why I like this show so much, and then you look up the screenwriter, it's like, oh, they've written one other drama, and it was another drama. Like, that's not the case here. When I tell
everybody
you,
knows the scriptwriter on this
well,
one.
and if you don't,
you do, like, I think, like,
you do, you just don't know that you do, because she's written fucking everything. Okay, she wrote Secret Garden. She wrote Descendants of the Sun.
She wrote Natalia's favorite drama,
Airs. She wrote Goblin. She wrote Mr. Sunshine. Yeah. She wrote King Eternal. Like, she's been around. She's very popular. So if you're like, wow, this seems like it had a lot of money put behind it. Yeah, because her dramas make a lot of money, so.
There's just the interview with her, and it's like her, there's the director, and then there's like a couple of members of the cast or something, and she talks about how she now just hands in the script of something, and everybody's like, this is weird, and she's like, yeah, at this point you don't know I'm weird.
It's like, have you not looked at my oeuvre? Like, listen, I may have started with Heirs and Secret Garden and your classics, but we're past that now.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm just writing whatever the fuck I want now, and you're gonna make it.
That this one has it, I do think it strays a little bit from what I would consider her style. I think there are parts where you could kind of pick it up, but a lot of the time I wouldn't pick up that was her if I didn't know going into.
Yeah, it is a little different than her normal fare. And if you're wondering, I wonder who directed this. Has he directed any other absolute bangers? He directed Happiness, which is Jessie and my favorite drama.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Does someone who directed, I don't know, Happiness, Record of Youth, Memories of the Alhambra, Rooftop Prince was his first drama. Listen, they're just absolute bangers. We do have a joke where it's when on this podcast where we'll look up the writer and they've written one thing and never written anything else. It's they said, I've done enough. No, these two have not done enough.
No,
they're no, we gotta keep doing more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I saw he had directed Happiness, I was like, there it is. It was a good show.
I enjoyed it. It was satisfying to me. Honestly, it wasn't the best show that I have ever had, but it was thoroughly satisfying. Even when I sat there and binged it, even at a scared state of not having enough time, I genuinely was sitting there going, oh, I have to go make dinner, but do I want to pause this or not?
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because, I thought it was really good. Will it be in, my top dramas list? No. But I think it's a really great drama.
A 9 out of 10, which is, my solid for, things just generally, really loved it while I was watching it. The Player is in that category, those type of things. So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad that I waited for both parts so I could have both of them, especially because episodes aren't normal standard length too, so you kind of blow through them pretty quickly because of that. And the title and the credits and stuff are a little bit longer, so it's the length is a little bit shorter. But
no, I genuinely enjoyed it. It is, I think a lot of times when I find something a little hard to watch, because a lot of it is hard to watch, and then so I think that, and also the fact that I was okay, but the better story is this other guy. I may have deducted a half a point for that because
it's totally understandable.
I think that's valid. Where it's I felt there was you shouldn't make the subplot.
I know
better than the plot.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just my whatever. You can never tell anyone how to rate anything here.
Yeah,
what you like.
But I will say it stayed on Netflix's at least the US top 10 for so long. I do not think there's a world that there won't be a season 2, so that might be helpful.
People, and it's always so funny to see which Korean dramas become super popular on Netflix because they're always not reflective of the average drama you're gonna find.
No, they're not.
And then you get the same nonsense where people are oh, well, we gotta, people are going to be asking you for recommendations. You gotta recommend whatever the fuck you want. Okay? I just need to put this out. I've been inundated on Twitter with people being trying to make rules about what you can recommend if someone The Glory. Okay? Recommend what you think that person will like watching. This never
honestly,
ceases to bother me.
I would say that maybe if you're going to recommend them something, stay on Netflix because apparently that's where they are. So make it easy for them.
Well, they got tons on them. They got tons of dramas on there right now.
So, But
the answer is because this is my first life. That's the answer. What should you recommend? It's because this is my first life. And if they like a bit more of a thriller, but not too much of a thriller, Unlock My Boss, which recently came out, is like my favorite show right now. But no, I get so tired. They're like, oh, don't be recommending Boys Over Flowers. If you think the person will like Boys Over Flowers, recommend Boys Over Flowers. I'm done with this nonsense.
I am done with people, forcing their beliefs on something so that, someone else, being the savior for someone else.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a fucking drama. Let's get this straight. The only time that, it's, personally something that you could say maybe if you know the person well and there's something in there that would trigger them, absolutely be no, you can't watch this even if you're interested in it because there's something that could trigger you, right? But also if you the only thing you could do is if there's someone bad on the thing. So if you really want to say don't go to Boys Over Flowers, be hey, maybe you should look at KHJ and what he did to his past girlfriend.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why you don't want to watch it. But just being I think it's bad, therefore I'm going to be quirky and cute.
You have to think it's bad.
No,
that's not how any of this works. Listen, you can tell that we've seen so many of these tweets recently that I'm losing my mind.
Because I don't like the fact that there are people out there that like Boys Over Flowers and have to sit there and watch someone do it as a joke. I'm
not even going to be ashamed of it. I derive so much enjoyment from Boys Over Flowers because it's goofy fun. And you don't have to take it seriously. And it's fun to watch. Okay, is that a crime? Can I?
What I got out of Boys Over Flowers was that it was an anime. To me, it was oh, this is the animes that I was used to. And so when I watched it, I was oh, this reminds me of how fun it was for during high school. This is cool. I'm glad that this one was the first one that I picked up because of that.
And anyway. Listen, don't be ashamed of your roots, people. Mm-hmm. But there are people who will genuinely I'm gonna be honest. I mentioned quite a bit how much I hate the drama airs. Because I do. I don't enjoy it. But if I was talking to someone who asked me for a recommendation and I genuinely thought that they would like it, I would recommend it to them. Because when someone's asking you for recommendations, they actually want to know what they're going to want to watch.
Not you. Ugh. I hate when people also do that to me, but
This rant's going,
No, it's
or when you're I'm looking for a thriller to watch, and they're well, here's a rom-com that I like. That's not, stop it.
What I would say, for The Glory is shot as
incredible.
A horror, but it's a mahjong.
Yeah.
So, which I also think that people didn't pick up on. So there is a lot of highs and lows in it because it's a mahjong, and mahjongs play that way. And then it's got the thriller aspects, but it's shot like a horror. And if you
there's set
that up for someone to be this is what it is, they might want to watch The Glory if you're trying to figure out if something is. Yeah. And then go based on that, look at be okay, now I should find something that's maybe a mahjong or a thriller or a high stakes thing, and then go from there if you're really wanting to pick things for someone. Don't just go for your favorite thing.
It's a mahjong with the anxious vibes of a thriller. Mm-hmm. And as we often do, we play the would Natalia's mother like this drama? No, absolutely not. My mom would not be able to get through this drama. She can't even watch
Sky
things.
Definitely wouldn't like this drama.
No, absolutely not. My mom, she doesn't like when you're watching a horror. It's not that the horror bothers her. It's the music. The music makes her really, really anxious. Who is it gonna happen? She'd be I'm out. I can't. She would literally get up, and leave the room. She'd be like, no, we're not doing this. Like, I'm sorry. But, which is actually a very healthy thing to do. Be like my mom. If something's making you anxious, just get up and walk out the room. You're fine. Yeah, but, yeah, like, this is really for people who like, you know, like, crime,
revenge
stuff, murder stuff. Like, if you like, you know, like, serial killer drama.
If you like psychological thrillers, you'll like this, because there's a lot of, like, kind of mind play going on. Like, sort of like, you know, I hear heightened campiness, but, like, yeah.
Though these are both on my to watch for our 12 for 12 this year that I haven't gotten around to them. I'm told that if you liked Beyond Evil and Flower of Evil, this might be your jam. This might be something that you're into. Like, sort of.
I've definitely seen Beyond. Okay, like, I could see the Beyond Evil in the psychological game. Beyond Evil, like, it's got a little bit psychological, but it's also got like the solid crime aspect to it. Yeah. So it's a little bit more focused on one murder type thing. So I could see that. And I haven't seen Flower of Evil, but I would assume that Flower of Evil.
Yeah, I've just heard, like, that's sort of in the wheelhouse.
And then like, I would say, like, I could see someone really liking Sky Castle after watching The Glory.
Yeah, like
a
Penthouse.
Like that. Yeah, like I think that, like, they just, like, find some of the things that happen in The Glory and, like, that kind of, like, highs and lows of acting. And, like, even if it's not like a revenge story, it's about, like, you know, college, getting into college or whatever, you know, like, I think you'll still find some, like, enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, so it's like, so here, now we get into the real meat of what we were discussing before. It's like, what do you actually recommend to someone who wants to watch something like The Glory after they finish watching The Glory?
I would also say that, like, maybe it would be fun. Like, you'd have to know the person, but I think, like, picking dramas that are not like the drama, but star one of the actors so that they can get a sense of what the actor does in another role is really great. So, like, we mentioned a lot about The Kid and, like, all the shows that we like, but, like, you could go watch any of the other, like, members of the cast. Like, that when I first started watching dramas, that's what I did. I, like,
that's how I did
went to Boys Over Flowers because of music, and then, like, I just, like, went through the cast and then picked up other, like, K-pop people, like, that was on Netflix. But then, like, through those casts, I would go then watch other dramas and just, like, figure out which one I liked and would pick up.
That's what I did too.
Because especially at the very beginning, because I was only watching on Netflix and then, like, sometimes on Crunchyroll. That's what I had. Yeah, Crunchyroll didn't have really anything. Like, you know, it had a couple J-dramas, but that's it.
I started on Netflix, and then I watched the two, because at the time, there were only two Korean dramas on Netflix in Canada. And it was Boys Over Flowers and Shut Up Flower Boy Band. Okay, that second one. Like, so the first one, so Boys Over Flowers, I was like, okay, that was silly, but it was bad. Like, even though I enjoyed it, I can say that was bad. But because I'm sort of a contrary person, I was like, well, all Korean shows can't be this bad. So I'll see if there's any other ones. Yeah. And then the second one I watched was Shut Up Flower Boy Band. And I was like, oh, so they're not that bad.
What was my second one? I don't remember.
And then I immediately was like, okay, I need to watch more of these. And then Googled where to watch Korean dramas with English subtitles.
I, like, tried so hard not to get into Asian dramas. I knew, like, I always knew they were there. And it was always like, Jessie, don't do it. Jessie, don't do it. And then I did it.
Girl, don't do it.
And then I did it. And then look at me.
Yeah, and look at us now.
So, yeah.
And so, like, I Googled where to watch Korean dramas. Because at the time, I was homesick at the flu. Shocker, I know. It's almost like I'm chronically ill with an immune disorder and have been for over a decade. And so I Googled, like, where to watch Korean dramas, English subtitles. And it was like, welcome to Drama Fever. And I was like, I have $5 a month. Rip Drama Fever. You were one of the good ones. And so then I went with, okay, Lee Min-ho.
Yeah, that's what,
Let's watch another drama with Lee Min-ho in it. And then I just sort of kept hopping, and I very quickly found myself with, what's his face? He was in Romance. Okay, never mind, doesn't matter. But, like, he was in Crash Course, the guy in Crash Course in Romance.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyway, I very quickly, and Jo Jung-suk, I very quickly, because then I got led randomly. I was like, I feel like watching a crime drama. So then I found myself on Cruel City, the greatest police drama ever created. If you haven't seen, now that's a recommendation for if you like The Glory. You should somehow find Cruel City.
Is it anywhere?
I don't think it's anywhere.
Maybe.
What else? It went as Heartless City on Drama Fever. Apparently, it's on Viki. We're gonna find out right now. All right, take me to Viki, my drama list. Oh my god, it is.
Is it?
Oh my god, it is.
Well, looks like our next hit list is going to be.
Looks like we've picked our next hit list episode. Natalia's first Korean crime drama, Heartless City from 2013. And I watched it when it first came out. Like, this was like...
Is 2013 in our 12 for 12? Yeah?
Yeah,
it is.
This month, I think, isn't it?
Well, I'm not doing it by month, so I don't know.
Well, anyway, if you're doing it by month like I am, I think it's this month. But anyway,
see.
Or it might have been last month. I don't know.
Here, let's see. I'll bring up my picture.
It was last month. But I've already seen it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah,
I haven't seen the drama for my 2013, so I could replace it and kill two birds with one stone.
So I'm out here to say, if someone asks you, I really like The Glory, what should I watch? You should tell them Heartless City on Viki. Because it's Natalia's. Listen, it's been so long since I've seen it, I can't actually assure you that it is as good as I remember it being, but I remember
Natalia's brain has it like love.
I remember genuinely going feral for this drama, okay? Paksa! Anyway, Heartless City, Chef's Kiss. Back for 2013, Natalia gave it a thumbs up, so...
It just went on like a very crazy offshoot.
Yeah,
all to say is, when you're giving recommendations, think of the person, not you.
Not you, yeah. But also, listen, if you're a new listener and you're like, wow, do they always go off on these unrelated, crazy, semi-related crazy tangents? Absolutely. That's what people keep coming back
I think, for. Like, maybe you should be worried. If we don't, there's not, like, clear jumps of, like, edits, then...
Be like, whoa, something's going on. They're staying too focused.
Are they, like, fighting? What's going on?
They're sticking to the script. What's happening right now? No, that, like, listen, it's one of those things where it's like, how, like, if you're kidnapped, but they're still making you put out podcast episodes, like, what do you say so that people know you've been kidnapped and need help? There's, like, a few indications. Like, Jessie will probably go on about how much she loves rom-coms. Mm-hmm. I'll say I talk about
heavy comedy.
How Heirs is a masterpiece, just a hidden masterpiece you should all watch.
Talk about, like, how we love men.
Yeah, just love them. Just absolutely big fans. I'll talk about all the dramas that I dropped.
Yeah.
So you know these things. And we'll probably say that we didn't like The Glory that much. Kidding, we liked it. We liked The Glory. We thought it was great. So that's basically The Glory. Well, it's not basically. That's basically our ramblings.
The
hit list episode ramblings about how much we like The Glory, and how if you like this sort of thing, you should watch it. Because as we just, our long offshoot just sort of said, we're not going to say everyone has to watch The Glory, but if you're a hit list aficionado, okay, and you tend to go like, every time Jessie and Natalia get on these little microphones to talk about murder, blood, gore, and viscera, I'm really into it, and I really can't wait to watch what they're talking about. You're going to like The Glory.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, thank you for listening to us talk Moida and revenge. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, but
not about murder.
Not about murder. It's going to be something. It's going to be a real for something completely different next week.
Right.
If you want to listen to us, you can find us wherever podcasts can be found. But all of our episodes are on our YouTube channel, where we also do weekly live streams. Just search Certified Noonas over on YouTube. You'll find us. You should, like, subscribe, hit the little bell. So that you get notifications for our live streams that we do, because we do them pretty much every week. Sometimes, life sometimes prevents us from doing them every week, but we do our best.
Okay.
If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/certified Noonas to be a part of the Certified Found Family. They're a found family on the web. They keep the lights on, as we always say. We love them. They're the best. Mm-hmm. You can also join our free-to-join Discord, where found family members get special little tags and privileges and things. They also get, little behind-the-scenes stuff and extras, how it goes. And if you need time codes and links to everything we talk about, you got to fund yourself on our website, certifiednoonas.com, where every single episode we've ever done is archived there. It's a lot of episodes.
It's at the point where, like, you don't want to listen to the old episodes because you're like, oh, cringe.
Cringe, yeah. But listen, if you're looking for one of those, like, I wonder if they've ever talked about a specific topic, we probably have.
Have they ever talked about the J-drama, Vampire Heaven? What?
Whoa, we've talked about the J-drama, the greatest J-drama ever made, Vampire Heaven. We've been talking about Vampire Heaven a lot these days.
I know.
Anyway, we just keep bringing it up. And, of course, what was I going to end this with? We're on all social medias still, while Twitter's still kicking.
And we're trying.
So at Certified Noonas. You can always find us. And so thank you for listening. Stay frosty, have a great week. Wash your hands, wear a mask, because think of just every time you're about to leave the house and go into public and you're like, I don't need a mask. I don't really care about this pandemic. Think of Natalia.
Think about those times when she's, like, very groggily and she, like, has the really crazy
just think of those times where it sounds like my lungs have been
like she's been
ripped
smoking
from
a
my
pack
chest
a day for 20
for
years.
80 years.
Yeah.
And just go, there's probably someone like her around. I'll put a mask.
Do it for them.
Do it for Natalia. Just do it for Natalia. I should just do it for Natalia. Anyway, have a fantastic week, and as always, keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Goodbye.
Bye.